The portal is closed and the spring roster is close to set. But will Byrum Brown be the hero, the leader that Auburn football needs in Alex Golesh's first season?
This is the Weekend Tailgate. Brought to you by Golden Cast Iron. C-Dub. Joe. Be Will. By G. You are now listening to
Weekend Tailgate brought to you by our friends at Golden's Cast Iron. Visit goldenscastiron.com/WR. Use code Get Your Weight Up for 15% off your weights and code TWR for $65 off fire pits and Kamado grills. I woke up this morning to a blanket of snow across my yard, Caesar, which means light up the Golden's Cast Iron fire pit and try to stay warm, or maybe just stay inside. I prefer the first option on the Golden's Cast Iron fire pit. You can have one too, but with a discount. So use the codes on your screen to get your Golden's Cast Iron products. These are lifetime products. We appreciate them for sponsoring this segment. Workout, grill out, chill out with Golden's Cast Iron. Sign up as a member. Patron members get early access to interviews. You get film reviews. You get specialized chats. You get a lot of stuff that we do for those who help support us monthly financially. We appreciate you guys for doing this. Let's see if we can get 25 signups on today's show. Help support the work that we're doing this offseason by signing up as a patron. $5.99 a month, man. That's a Starbucks coffee these days, or cheeseburger. Either way, we need your help, and if enough of you do this, we can bring you even more of the content you love. I appreciate everybody in advance for signing up. Find us on podcast, whatever podcast platform you listen to your podcast on. We are there with the Auburn Express Uptempo College Loop Just a Sec and the War Report Gaming Channel. Sign up, turn on automatic downloads, and leave us a 5-star review. Help us climb the podcast charts this football offseason. Couple more shout outs here. I want to thank our friends at the Vibe Vault. You can find them at 3462 Crosswinds Road, Suite E in Phoenix City, Alabama. If you're in the Columbus, Phoenix City area and you're looking to get fresh for the weekend, the Vibe Vault is the place for you. Caesar lineups, fades, beer trims, they do it all. As a matter of fact, I got all 3 city services done a couple days ago. So if you see me on the screen and you're like, damn, Mike G is fresh as AF, well, the Vibe Vault is the reason. We appreciate them for helping us sponsor this segment. You can find them on Highway 431, right across the street from Chattahoochee Valley Community College, next to the Renfro Supermarket and the Marco's Pizza right there in Phoenix City. The Vibe Vault, not just barbers, lifestyle consultants. Last but certainly not least, want to thank our friends at AIMA. That's Abel's Iannone, Moore, and Associates. You don't need a big balance to need big advice when managing your finances or your business's finances. At Abel's Iannone, Moore, and Associates, there's no minimum to start your initial portfolio review. It's completely complimentary. So whether you're just starting to invest, a do-it-yourself investor, or in the final stages of planning for retirement, AIMA's fiduciary advisors will meet you where you are. No sales pitch, no pressure, and just honest guidance. Call AIMA at 912-777-4128. Scan the QR code on your screen or visit AIMAinc.com. It costs nothing and could change everything for you. The War Report has been compensated by Abel's Iannone, Moore, and Associates for this endorsement. Abel's Iannone, Moore, and Associates is a SEC registered investment advisor. Registration as an investment advisor does not imply a certain level of skill or training. Let's jump into today's show. It's your boy Mike G. It's my guy C-Dub. We are talking Auburn football here on a Sunday morning here on the Weekend Tailgate Show, brought to you by Golden's Cast Iron, as we do every single Sunday. We missed a midweek live, lots going on. Ike was on the road covering basketball. He went to Missouri. So Ike was there doing the dirty work, Caesar, here for us. But Auburn basketball bounced back with a win at home in Neville versus South Carolina. We'll talk about that in the second half of the show. But we want to start today's show talking about QB. The portal is officially closed as of us recording this. So if you're watching us on replay, the portal closed on the 16th. That was 2 days ago on Friday. And the roster started to take a little bit of shape. Now, if you're in the portal, you can still choose a home, but you got to choose one quickly if you plan to be in spring ball. We know a lot more about Auburn football than we did just 72 hours ago, though. Talk to me, man. Let's start at the top here. Lots of talk about QB this offseason. We did a segment last week, Caesar, where we talked about the state of the QB room. Byrum Brown is your guy. Behind him, maybe you got some question marks here, but you need a leader at quarterback this year. You need a bona fide leader at quarterback. Is Byrum Brown that guy? Are we heaping maybe too much pressure on Byrum Brown and Golesh's first year? They got to get some things accomplished. This is Byrum Brown's last year. What's a reasonable expectation for this young man, and will he be able to lead under the pressure?
I would hope so. I mean, if not, I don't know why Golesh went after him, right? So I would like to think that a guy who you developed, a guy who's been in your system for multiple seasons, who was a leader at South Florida, there's no reason why he shouldn't come in and be one of, if not the leader of that offense in 2026, Mike. The wide receivers respect him. He knows the offense. He is who's going to make this offense go. There's not a play that's going to be ran that doesn't run through Byrum Brown. And you saw the numbers that he put up last year, video game type numbers. I'm not saying that he does that or duplicates those numbers this year in SEC play, but he should be very effective in an offense that he knows like the back of his hand. And there's no reason to expect for him to be a leader, someone that this team looks towards for direction. Again, this guy in some moments and in some games, especially against Florida, seems like he put that team on his back at points and was just making plays, Mike. Like, he's a baller at the end of the day. And so having a guy like that as a focal point of your offense, the big thing is, knock on wood, he remains healthy. Hopefully he doesn't take as many hits in 2026, but I expect him to definitely be one of the leaders, and I don't expect for it to be too much pressure for him. I think he wants the challenge. He's accepted the challenge, and I hope he steps up to it.
Caesar, do you think maybe the mindset changed from South Florida to Auburn in the SEC, where you need to trust your teammates, and you need to understand that while he is extremely talented, there are guys equally as talented around him. He didn't have to carry the whole. You're not going to win trying to carry the whole load on your own. You got to trust guys. Even the best player, in my opinion, in Auburn football history, and Cam Newton, trusted the guys around him, man, to make plays at times. Now, he was always there to make a play when Auburn needed a play, but do you think that's going to be a hard transition for Byrum Brown, maybe sharing the responsibility of playmaking with the guys around him and understanding, like, look, man, I don't have to do it all myself here because I got 4 or 5-star guys around me everywhere.
Yeah, and I think it shouldn't take him long to realize that as soon as he steps on the field with these guys, or the moment he starts practicing with these guys, he's going to realize something's a little different here. Like, these guys are making amazing plays. Not that the guys at South Florida didn't make plays, Mike, because, again, he shared the wealth at South Florida. Like, if you look at those receivers, you didn't have a 1,000-yard receiver, but you had like 4 or 5 guys with at least 400 or 500 yards of receiving yards around him. You're going to have a ridiculous amount of talent behind him in the running back room. Yes, Mike, like, there's plenty of guys that can make plays who are all around you at the skill positions. So the hope is that, and I think that should be the messaging, the grind in the SEC, a 9-game SEC schedule, Mike. You're going to need Byrum Brown. If you're going to make those plays in November, then you're going to have to trust your guys in December and October so that you don't put a lot of wear and tear on your body, because your body will break down. We've seen that happen all the time with guys who are taking major hits early in the season, and then as the season goes on, they can barely stay out on the field. So you want Byrum Brown to be effective in November as you're making a push for something special, you hope, if you're Auburn. In order to do that, he has to stay upright, which means he has to trust his teammates. That has to be the messaging from the coaching staff to Byrum Brown, even from his other teammates, to say, hey, man, we got you. Just get us the ball and we'll make plays.
Caesar, in 2.5 years, Hugh Freeze was able somehow, with absolutely zero proof of concept in today's SEC, he was able to sell to recruits. Come to Auburn. We're close. We're going to make it happen. Spoiler alert, it never happened. I mean, it literally never happened. Maybe the best game they had offensively in Hugh Freeze's tenure, P4 game, was Baylor last year. That might have been the best game.
Which in hindsight, I mean, you just ran the ball. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I mean,
nothing wrong with that. But that wasn't Hugh Freeze's offense.
Right. Yeah. Now, if you're wondering why I'm excluding some of those late year games because Hugh Freeze wasn't the coach anymore, I'm talking about only the games that he was on campus for. If you're Alex Golesh and you get this right this year, I think recruiting explodes in 2027. Absolutely explodes because you have the resources to essentially go out and get your next. And people hate this name, and I'm using it only as a point of reference. It's not to harp on the fact that he left, but to go out and get your next, I won't even say the name. I'll just say next top wide receiver, your next top 5 overall player, right? And you need proof of concept for these kids. You don't really have it at Auburn, which is why I think getting those guys to stay, those guys who will not be named anymore to stay, was harder. Gets easier if you can do literally anything that looks a little above average offensively this year. John Cohen, who I ran into at yesterday's basketball game, we took some time to chat a little bit, in the first quarter. He said it. He said, "Look, man, if we had even an average offense, Hugh Freeze is probably still a coach here."
Yeah,
they couldn't produce average. If you're Alex Golesh, I'm still not looking for just average. I'm looking for an above average scheme that produces above average results with average players. The scheme has to supersede the talent. Hear me out, man. The scheme has to consistently get more out of the talent than other schemes have before. I don't care what you did at another program. When you come here, if we play you, if Alex Golesh, put you on the field, you're going to do better than you've ever done anywhere because we're going to put you in a better position than you've been anywhere you played football prior to Auburn. The scheme has to supersede the talent at this point. And if it does, you start with Byrum Brown. That's why we're talking about this.
Yeah.
He elevates his game at Auburn. And I know he was a 3,000-yard passer and 1,000-yard rusher at USF. But 3,500, I don't think he needs to be a 1,000-yard rusher in the SEC. But if he is close to a 4,000-yard passer and north of 25 touchdowns,
4,000,
close to 4,000.
Okay.
I know that seems like a tall task. However, setting 3,000 yards as a benchmark that he should be able to accomplish in this league with the right play calling and the right receivers around him, I expect him to do better than that. I expect him to do much better than 3,000 yards. So why not? Why not 4,000 yards? Why not him? But I'm taking the load off the running, though. I don't think he needs to run as much in this scenario. Just needs to be a complete passer here at Auburn. And 4,000 yards will be the most prolific passing season by a long shot in Auburn history.
How many yards rushing?
If he's in the 500 to 700 range, because you're not going to stop him from running, he's going to run the ball, right? I think that's fine. I think that's fine. Running a little bit more situationally, getting your receivers involved, moving the ball down the field, somewhere in the high 60s to low 70s completion percentage is how he gets there.
Okay. All right.
What do you think? What do you think? Can we get a 4,000-yard pass? I expect him, but look, I don't care what he did at USF. I expect him to be a better player at Auburn. I'm looking for his best year of college football this year. No regression. No regression 2026. Can't move backwards.
You said a lot there. I'm going to take it from the beginning. You talked about recruiting and showing proof of concept, right?
Yep.
I rarely do I lead people off of our channel to other channels, but there's a channel Next Up with Adam Brenneman where he goes around and interviews different coaches and whatnot. I think he used to be a coach himself, and he interviewed Alex Golesh about a year or so ago, and Alex talked about how he approaches recruiting. And one of the things that he wants his staff to focus on, if the concept is development and getting people to the league, then I'm looking for the same type of athletes that the league is looking for. Right. Okay. So in other words, it's going to be difficult, even if you recruit a guy, let's say he was a 4-star guy. But but he doesn't have the measurables, right? So oftentimes what ends up happening is he may even produce, but he's going to be a late rounder or may not even be drafted because from a league standpoint, Mike, he does not have those measurables that they're looking for at that position, right? Okay. He's going to struggle at that position. So when you talk about proof of concept, he's looking at guys whose body type as well as skill set can get to the next level, which means he may be a 3-star, but he may actually be the guy that we can develop so that when scouts look at them on tape, this person has what they're looking for. And so they may actually be a higher draft. They may be drafted in a higher round for those reasons alone, right? So what I'm saying is, Mike, is if you have the guys in place through portal this year, guys who came from South Florida this year to execute a system, you get to go fast, Mike, because a lot of people who are on this roster now already understand your system, Byrum Brown being one of them. Mm-hmm. Circle this back around to Byrum Brown. So you have guys who can allow you to go fast in your implementation of your system and scheme. Once you're able to show proof of concept, Mike, to your point, now I can go to recruits and say, this is what we were able to do year one. With you, I can go even faster, produce even more, get even more yards, score even more points with you, who has the measurables and have the stars by your name. In other words, recruiting takes off when I have the guys in place to run my system. And I think that Alex Golesh has that. He's gone out and gotten that, right? And so what I think when it comes to Byrum Brown, 4,000 yards, I'm aiming. Listen, if he does what he did at South Florida, Mike has high standards. You know, I just want to be happy. I want to see a QB that if you can get to 3,000 yards. When was the last time Auburn threw for 3,000 yards with a QB? When was the last time that happened? Was it Stidham?
Just Stidham, yeah.
What happened that year? What? Let me know what happened that year. Auburn was what? A game away from the college football playoff?
Actually, you know, that might have been hold on. Let's be accurate here. Because we need to find out, like, when
was the last time Auburn threw for 3,000 yards in a season?
Yeah, I think it was either 2018 or 2017. I want to say it was 17. 17 was the better year, right? Like, so, like, I'd always lean there first, but I just want to double check here before we move on. They always put up. See, he's been in the league for so many years, so they always put up his.
Let's see here.
Let's see here. All right, give me his college stats here. All right, so it was 2017. Yeah.
2017.
Yeah, 3,158 yards. 2018, he was 2,794 yards. So he came close in 2017.
And they did that with one running back.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Who got injured, and then the offense kind of suffered after that.
I think Bo would have done it in Carson's first year had he not got hurt. I think because
Auburn was on his way to competing.
Yeah,
like they were fixing.
I'm pretty sure he finished with like 2,600 yards or something with a few games left, like 3 games left.
Auburn was well on his way to having a good first year under Harsin until Bo got injured, to your point.
Yeah, 6-2 headed in November. Yeah.
If you have a 3,000-yard passer, 4,000 is off the charts. If you can just get to 3,000, Mike, with the running backs that Auburn has and a defense led by DJ Durkin, what type of year are we talking about?
The type of year that Auburn, quite frankly, should have had the last 3 years. I've always thought they were capable of that, though, but that is the extent to which I felt coaching was holding this team back. I said it in year one and got crucified. And now everybody is on that train 3 years later. But Caesar, after his first year, I did a show with my guy Pat Smith over at the 3-Man Front. Great radio show. Please go subscribe to them, follow them on Twitter, and listen to their show if you're in the Birmingham area on the radio. But I said it. I said, His first year for Eases wasn't any better than Brian Harson's first year. As a matter of fact, statistically, it might have been outside of recruiting. It might have been worse. Everyone blamed the talent. Oh, but look what he inherited and this and that. No. All his best players were Harson guys.
Right.
And those guys performed. Jarquez Hunter has since gone on to the league.
Right.
I was systemically, I'm like, no, man, there's some things here where it looked like guys got worse when they got to Auburn. Remember all the big deal they were making in the offseason about Hooks and Shane Hooks and I forgot the other guy's name that transferred in, and these guys were making circus catches in practice and then just suddenly could not catch routine catches in games.
Well, you just look at the offensive linemen. Like Percy Lewis had a high PFF grade at Ole Miss this year. He was he was awful when he came here.
That's why that's why I go back to my initial statement where I said the system has to supersede the talent, right? And that you've got to consistently get more out of guys than what others have gotten out of them. That's what I want to see. That's the Auburn that John Cohen is trying to build. That's the coach that he wanted to hire. The guy who knows how to get everything that's in a player and a little extra. Because when I give you when I go spend $4 million on a 5-star player, you will not sit on your laurels expecting that 5-star to fill the gaps in your system. One of the things that they said repeatedly in their pitches to try to get some of the guys that they actually wanted to stay was, hey, look, we still want to develop you guys. If you stay here, you're going to be developed. That included our number 1 wide receiver. You still need a ton of development. And I hope wherever he goes, he stays open to that message because he does need a ton of development. Extremely talented, but he needed coaching, development, and leadership.
Exactly.
He still needed it. So if you can get that, if he's getting that one more year, because here's the other thing too. Byrum Brown is going to be in a very rare situation at Auburn, which I think Auburn fans should be excited about. Hear me out on this one. Very rarely do we see a player, especially a quarterback, with NFL-type abilities that play 4 whole years in college anymore.
Right.
If you've got NFL-type talent, you're not lasting 4 years in college anymore. This doesn't happen. Right? Like all the years that Bo played in college, it was a little anomalous because of injuries. I think injuries kept him around the college game a little longer. Auburn, he stuck with Auburn probably longer than he should have. He went to Oregon. I think he did the right thing. And now look at him. Prayers up for him, by the way. I saw that he got hurt in the bowl game. I'm not in the playoff game. Yeah, yesterday. It was an ankle. It ended his season. Jarrett Stidham is going to step up in his turn. But he carried that team to the playoffs. He always had that type of talent. On this show, we were very, very clear that we felt like Gus was actively coaching him down.
Yeah.
But
it was obvious when Harson got here, and I know we were mentioning former coaches a lot, but it was obvious as the season went on that Bo was playing a lot better than we've ever seen him play. He was consistently getting better.
Yeah. I just think that what we're looking for under Golesh is the cure for that. When Jason Campbell was here, and we were in school, so we saw this firsthand. His first 3 years under, Petrino did well in 2002, but then he was gone. The Nalsminger experiment was a complete disaster, and they did not. Tuberville didn't go down a rabbit hole for one more year. He's like, we got to fix this. And they went out and they got Al Borges. Again, a system that supersedes the talent. Look at what they were able to do. They had all the same talent, just about. As a matter of fact, they were short a couple of superstars on that 04 team that they had on the 03 team.
Yeah.
People forget, like Carlos Dansby, he didn't make it to 04. He was done.
Yeah.
Who was the other guy that was at linebacker with Carlos? Mark Brown was going.
DT?
Yeah, Dontarius Thomas.
DT,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But they picked up Travis Williams and
I think you had Brandon Jacobs in the running back room too that year.
03, you had him. You definitely had him.
You had. That's what I'm saying. 03, you had more weapons in the running back room.
So you lost those weapons, but you brought in a superior system and you got better.
Yeah.
But again, this is why I'm telling you, Auburn fans should be excited. But you were, again, in a rare situation where you had a quarterback who was playing his 4th year in college but had NFL ability in Jason Campbell in the right system.
Yeah.
He didn't have game-breaking, like world-ending numbers passing the ball, but only because Auburn had Cadillac and Ronnie Brown at running back. So they did what worked. But every time Auburn needed a play through the air, Jason Campbell delivered. And the Al Borges system delivered. It was superior to anything that Jason had played in before that.
Right.
So if this is truly a superior system at Auburn with the resources that they have, that Byrum Brown will have in this conference, I expect to see that 4th year bump, man. 4 years at the college level. 4. You just don't see. And make no mistake, he's got NFL talent.
Yeah, I would say this. I would say this too. When you think about the Cam Newton season, Cam had the measurables and he had the talent. I think what a lot of scouts was waiting to see was, what is he going to do against LSU? What is he going to do against Georgia? What is he going to do against Alabama? Right. And it's those games, Mike, that if you're able to show that, hey, I can get into these games and continue to do what I've been doing, you're going to shoot up draft boards.
Yep.
That's what shot Cam up. That's why he was a unanimous #1 pick that season, because of all of the, he kept doing what he was doing against Bama that he was against South Carolina, right? Against some of these other schools that you would expect him to do that against. So if Byrum Brown if he throws for almost 4,000 yards, Mike, my God, could you imagine what that does to Buddy's draft stock? Could you imagine if you translate or transfer the 3,000 yards passing and even close to 1,000 yards rushing in 2026, what that does for his draft stock? Because again, it's the AAC, but if you're doing that against tougher competition, more talented guys, which kind of simulates what the NFL could potentially be like, dude, pro scouts are salivating over that type of production and talent. So yeah, I mean, if the system is able to put him in position, and I think it is, because again, all you hear about is this process-oriented approach to what you do on a daily basis. If he got guys who are already dialed into that, Mike, you don't have to sell these guys on buying in. You are bringing guys over who are already bought in, right? So you get to go a lot faster in terms of installs, in terms of installing your culture. If Byrum Brown basically picks up where he left off at South Florida, sky's the limit in terms of what this team could do, because this is what has been holding Auburn back for years now, is lack of offensive production in key critical moments. If you're able to improve that, it's a turnaround.
Yeah, especially in the key critical moments. I think that's the most important thing you said there. When a play was needed, a lot of very talented players made mistakes or just failed to deliver.
Yeah.
To me, that, again, that's not a talent issue. That's a system issue. That's about how you practice. That's about how it's taught. Again, it's hard. Sometimes players just have to make plays. I understand that, but you're not going to overcome a whole off season of doing things not the right way in a week or in the 3 weeks that Durkin had when he took over as interim. Now you've got a whole off season. If you're Alex Golesh, you bring in Byrum Brown because he hopefully lets you hit the ground running with what you're trying to do. I've got my quarterback, so now I don't have to spend a ton of energy teaching my QB1 the concepts and I can put energy on other areas that need improvement on this team.
Yeah.
And I can bring everybody up to speed. And hopefully when we get to fall camp, we are a well-oiled machine where everybody understands their assignment, Caesar, and Auburn shocks the hell out of people to open SEC play. We've talked about this schedule. You open with Baylor at a neutral site. You've got one FCS game, essentially, and then you got 2 SEC games to open your SEC schedule in September.
Florida and Vandy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Golesh versus Summerall should be gangbusters. I can't wait for that game. I hope we whoop the shit out of them. Look, man, screw John Summerall. I really don't like that guy. I'm starting to feel like him, like I felt about Lane. Not that they do the same stuff, just I'm talking about just my bitterness and
just had that. Just had that feeling.
Yeah. It's just totally me issue. So John, if you're listening to this,
it's me, not you.
Right, it's definitely me. It's not you. Before we get to the break,
it's kind of you, but it's
it is definitely
it's kind of you.
Before we get to the break here, Caesar, I do want to close talking about what do you think would make Auburn fans feel good this spring? I think a date has been set for the 8A game already. We're going more of a traditional format for this year's 8A game under Golesh. I have expressed my desire for them to make 8A relevant and something that we look forward to going to see the talent on display. You don't have to give away the system. You don't have to give away the store. But I don't think it's unreasonable for fans to show up to 8A and expect to see Auburn play some fun-looking pitch and catch with this quarterback and these receivers. Let's just see them go out there and use their athleticism, stay healthy, but, compete at a reasonable level on 8A. And I want to see Byrum Brown. Last year, we got robbed of being able to see Jackson Arnold throw a single pass in the 8A game, which is crap. I want to see that this year. No way you're sitting Byrum Brown this 8A.
Wasn't he injured?
Yeah, that's what they said. They said he had some kind of hamstring thing going on, and it was precautionary. But I want to see Byrum Brown. Outside of injury, I want to see Byrum Brown this 8A. You got to do what's best for the team. So I'm not advocating to play him if he's hurt or anything. So before anybody goes to social media and starts tweeting out some foolishness. But I do want to see him throw the ball. I want to see him throw the ball. I want to see the chemistry with the receivers. I want to see him and Keyshawn Singleton light it up for like a quarter of 8A.
I mean, what are you going to show on 8A that you haven't already shown the prior year or two with Byrum Brown? Like, this is the same coaching staff, the same player, the same OC, right? Like, there's a lot of film on these guys already. Let's just
the difference is it's here. The difference is it's here. It's in Jordan.
It's here. But my point is, go out and put on a show for the fans. Like, what are you hiding from Auburn fans that you haven't hid from it? Like, you haven't already shown people already that's not already out there. Like, I hope that doesn't factor into the decision, because that's too late. Too late for that. Go out there and put on a show for Auburn fans and give them something to be excited about. From April to September, that is a 5-month stretch, Mike. 5-month stretch. Give them something to be excited about going into that 5-month stretch. Turn those guys loose. Let them have a good time. Let them have fun, and really give people something to be excited about going into 2026.
Look, I agree. Speaking of giving some people stuff to be excited about going into 2026, there were a couple of signings this weekend that we want to talk about. We're not going to cover all of the signings, but there were two that we wanted to highlight on today's show. We'll get to that right after our quick word from our sponsors. This is your Weekend Tailgate. Guys, do us a favor. Share this video on social media using @TheWarReport and #GetYourWeightUp. Like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. Follow us on X and Instagram @TheWarReport, TW Report on TikTok. If you're watching this on Twitter right now, do us a favor. Come on over to YouTube and subscribe to the channel. We broadcast these on YouTube for marketing and awareness purposes, but we need you guys on YouTube here for monetary purposes. So subscribe to the channel. Let's get to the break, and when we come back, we're going to talk even more Auburn football right here on the Weekend Tailgate.
This edition of the War Report is brought to you by our generous sponsors. Golden's Cast Iron. Whether you work out, grill out, or chill out, you deserve the best life possible, and Golden's Cast Iron is here to provide the tools to help you do it. Check them out at goldenscastiron.com.
The Rage Room. The Rage Room is a place where anger and stress find their ultimate release. Set up a session today at one of the 2 great locations in Opelika or Birmingham by visiting opelikaRageRoom.com or BirminghamRageRoom.com.
If you're in the Columbus, Phoenix City area and you've ever run out of vape juice and you thought, well, I'm just out of luck. Well, Sky Tobacco and Vape has you covered all over Columbus and Phoenix City. So whether you're headed up Airport Thruway, cruising down the 285 pass, or maybe you find yourself on Macon Road or Victory Drive, they've got a spot that's probably right around the corner from where you're at. Vapes, tobacco, and deals so good you'll swear they misprinted the price tags. Sky Tobacco and Vape, good deals, good prices, and zero judgment if you walk in at 10 p.m. wearing your pajama pants. I want to thank our friends at the Rogue Shop. Visit rogueshop.com. Use code REPORTER to get 15% off your Rogue Shop order. Pain, sleep, stress, anxiety, whatever ails you in life, the Rogue Shop potentially has something that has you covered. If you've got some traditional ailments that could require some non-traditional remedies, well, the Rogue Shop could be the place for you. Our guy Richard, longtime sponsor of the show, dropping a little something extra in there for everybody using code REPORTER today. Again, rogueshop.com. Make sure you use code REPORT so they know we sent you. I want to thank our friends at AIMA. That's Abel's, Iannone, Moore, and Associates. Running a business means investing in everyone else, but who's investing in you? Abel's, Iannone, Moore, and Associates help small business owners manage excess cash, build retirement plans, and create investment strategies that make their money work beyond the business. There's no minimum to start, and your initial review is complimentary. Call AIMA at 912-777-4128. Scan the QR code on your screen or visit AIMAINC.com to see how fiduciary guidance can help your business grow long after closing time. The War Report has been compensated by Abel's, Iannone, Moore, and Associates for this endorsement. Abel's, Iannone, Moore, and Associates is a SEC-registered investment advisor. Registration as an investment advisor does not imply a certain level of skill or training. Check us out on podcasts, all the podcast platforms. We are there bringing you lots of great audio-only content, whether it's Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or Amazon Podcasts. We are there. A lot of you guys listen on iHeartRadio. I didn't know that was a thing, but I'm learning that that's a thing. So turn us on, turn us up. We're on podcast. We appreciate you guys for helping us out. And while you're over there, leave us a 5-star review. Last but certainly not least, check us out, guys, at thewarreport.com, where you'll find our merch store and our written work, thewarreport.com, filling all your need to read about Auburn football, but also give you a chance to get some fly gear there in the merch store. Ike designs all this stuff. He does a great job with it. So you can support us by buying something today. Let's jump back in here. Caesar, over the weekend, we got some news about some commitments. Defensive back Jack Luttrell has committed to Auburn from the portal. He's got 2 years of eligibility remaining. He's listed at 6 foot, 188 pounds, and comes from Arizona. He had a stop at Tennessee. Now, before we started recording, we talked a little bit about his 2025. He played in 3 games, but it seems like injury derailed his 2025 season. He finished the season with only 3 total tackles, but he did log an interception before he went out. But in 2024, he played in all 12 games, 39 tackles, 3 interceptions, 4 pass breakups, a forced fumble, and had double-digit tackles in multiple games, including 14 versus UCF and 11 versus West Virginia. DJ Durkin has done a really good job identifying the talent that he needs to continue to build here. We talked about Xavier Atkins really exploding on the scene last year as not just one of Auburn's best players, but one of the best players in all of college football. Definitely maybe a top 5 player in all of the SEC last year. Jack Luttrell, man, talk to me about what he adds potentially to this secondary. You had some guys leave in that secondary, but I would argue maybe there was some talent there, but, you know, this is production that they can replace.
This is Tim Banks. This has Tim Banks written all over it, right?
Okay.
This is a Tim Banks guy, former defensive coordinator at Tennessee. I'm curious, Mike. I mean, the safety room was already looking pretty good, in my opinion, before this signee here. Because you got guys like Caleb Harris. Sylvester Smith announced that he was coming back, but then you also have guys like, New Boy Fagans, Eric Winters, who's returning. Like, you already have a pretty stacked safety room. And also, I mean, I'm curious to see what happens with Champ Anthony. Obviously, he's going to return, but how they're going to use him, I'm curious to see where the talent is going to be. But there's a lot of talent in that room, Mike. And listen, you talking about, and I see guys mentioning Fred Gaskin, who's also came over from USF. There's a lot of talent to go over. That's an embarrassment of talent in that room. Like Tim Banks has his work cut out for him in terms of where a guy's going to fit, who's going to play in that nickel position, who's gonna help out in the safety. What's the rotation look like? There's no shortage of talent in that room, Mike. And so to bring him on, given the production that we've seen out of this guy, like this guy can ball, this guy can play. I expect him to be a contributor in that room. I'm just curious to see who's going to be playing alongside him as well. So, again, a good problem to have if you're Tim Banks.
I agree. I mean, he adds real depth to your room, but this is a guy who's going to come in and compete to play now. So I like that. I like that they're adding guys who have the ability to play now. Also, he wasn't the only Jack. They Jack of all trades is the recruiting on defense here. Jack, I want to make sure I say this right. Layer. I've got somebody on staff that's been sending me layer. It is layer.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Taylor. Jack Layer joins the squad here. The big offensive lineman, 6'7", 285 pounds. That's it. That size stands out there. Played 4 years at Stanford with an increasing role, 10 starts and appearances in all 12 games in 2024. Only 1 year left thanks to a medical waiver. So he's got 1 year left to play, but he helps them potentially bolster that offensive line. He started at both left tackle and left guard at Stanford. So he's got flexibility maybe at Auburn in terms of where they use him or where the need is the greatest. Offensive line, man, we've talked offensive line to death. This is the one position group that absolutely has to they have the furthest to go from what they were to what Auburn needs. And is this a reasonable 1 year offseason project fixing this offensive line? And how does Jack Layer help you do that?
I don't know, to be honest with Jack. I think he's another body. Let's be clear. Auburn only returned 3 guys from the prior season in that room, right? That room cleared out, Mike, either through eligibility issues or guys just moving on. Some guys that you would have liked to have held on to who you felt could have helped you this season, but they're no longer here. You had bodies to bring in. You had to bring guys in. And the concern, Mike, is that a lot of the guys that you're bringing in were coming out of high school. So the expectation for some of these guys contributing wasn't really high because, that's a developmental position. So bringing in guys out of the transfer portal was going to be your best bet. So in comes a guy like Jack Layer. And, PFF, he graded out much better in pass pro than run blocking. So again, I'm curious to see how he's going to be utilized. Obviously, you had 2 guys from USF that you feel really strongly about, who's going to work on the interior. One at center, I believe. Best, I believe is his name. I just think it's all about getting the necessary bodies in. Mike, I think this is, as much as it is about the players and having guys in, I think this is really about the O-line coach and who is Auburn getting in terms of I believe it's Tyler Hudenick. Am I saying it right?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it's all about him and his ability to be able to coach some of these guys up. Because again, we mentioned it in the prior segment, Mike. The prior O-line coach, we saw guys do well. There's examples of guys who've done well at other schools, come to Auburn, and it seems as though they took a step back. Right? Again, I mentioned Percy Lewis. Percy Lewis graded out really well this season by PFF at Ole Miss. and his time at Auburn was a disaster under the same O-line coach.
Yeah,
And
right.
so my thing is can we stop that? Can guys come to Auburn and actually get better? Can we see guys actually get closer or play closer to their ceiling under this new O-line coach? Because y'all remember you said after Hugh Freeze was gone, what's the O-line coach's name? No longer here.
Jake Thornton.
Jake Thornton.
Mm-hmm.
Mike, you was like Jake Thornton probably should have went out the door with Hugh Freeze when they let him go. My hope is that we talk about the upgrade at O-line in terms of the guys on roster. Did Auburn upgrade in terms of O-line coach? That's the hope, because if that's the hope, and you're bringing in guys again who has the body, and these are some big dudes. These are some big dudes along the O-line. I like this. If nothing else, Mike, I like the size of some of these guys. These 6'7", 6'6", 300, like great size. If Coach Houdenit can get these guys ready to be physical at the point of attack on Saturdays this upcoming season, then listen, I bring the bodies on, show proof of concept, and you got guys all that you're working on developing. I'm excited. To me, it has everything to do about him as it does the players you're bringing in.
Right.
Can he get the most out of these guys? That's what I'm looking to see.
Yeah, it's so interesting here. You talk about Thornton. I mean, I've since learned some things about that dynamic here where I'm a little bit more forgiving of Thornton than I was then.
You wanted to tell me because I got good God.
Yeah, I mean, look, they had. I think we can all safely say a lot of those issues stemmed from the top. Here, Thornton, apparently was a guy who would speak up and challenge the status quo, and was consistently not really put in his place, but told to take a step back. They're not gonna have that issue under Alex Golesh. She's not gonna have that issue under him. These guys are all aligned. They understand what the expectation is. But when Auburn has been able to find a line, it's been, I don't think we talk enough about how good the line was in Cam's 1 year. Cam called them the big uglies down there, Caesar. Talked about the big uglies and how those guys really allowed him to do
big nasties.
The big nasties, yeah. The big nasties and like how they really allowed him to do a lot of things he was able to do in his single season at Auburn that produced a Heisman and a national championship and never lost a game. I think in 2013, we saw the same thing. You had good running backs, you had a great quarterback, but you had a line that just blocked everything up, and you had receivers who were willing to block on the edges as well too. In Auburn's better years. So this is such it kills me that they were able to recruit at such a high level. Top 10 classes they averaged, but somehow offensive line recruiting was consistently behind anything that could be considered serviceable the entire time. If Alex Golesh can fix this, I think he's going to have a lot of fun. What is this foolishness in the chat? Sorry, I meant to just block that. Bands. Okay, yeah. They're going to have a lot of fun at Auburn. They're going to win a lot of games at Auburn. Not a lot of systems work when you can't pass protect. I mean, I don't know a bunch of systems that work if you can't pass protect. So Golesh, figuring that out will be big. Jack Layer potentially helping him solve that issue. Look, let's get to some comments here, and then we're going to close the show, giving some final thoughts here on where Auburn football is at and where they're going in 2026.
There's a couple of other people too. We could talk about them. We can get to the comments first, but yeah, there's a couple other people I want to highlight.
Sure. The Can Lay gifted 10 War Report memberships. We always appreciate that. Greg Wheat 63 says, happy Sunday. I got to say, Alex Golesh has done a pretty good job considering what we lost and not much proof of concept. 2026 should be a good year. I agree with you, Greg, here.
That's the missing piece is proof of concept.
And the Can Lay comes back and says, I'm doing fine, feeling good about the team so far, but the basketball team, not a good year. Comparatively speaking, okay, I hear you, but I don't think it's all doom and gloom in basketball just yet. I'll get to that here after we're done with comments. Darius Lee, Indiana is what Auburn should have been this year. What do you think about this comment?
Perhaps.
What's their quarterback's name? Is it Fernando Mendoza?
Mendoza.
Mendoza, yeah. Like, Is Mendoza the guy Auburn was looking for at quarterback but didn't get? Is this team? I mean, they built up the trenches in the mold of a lot of championship SEC teams at Indiana, and they're going on a pretty epic run. I'd be interested to see if Indiana can sustain what they did last year, year over year. Are they going to be a perennial playoff team now, or is this one off? Because lightning in a bottle one year.
Auburn is more talented than Indiana. I will say that. Auburn is a more talented team. I just think Indiana is a complete team, and that's something that Auburn was not. What's impressive about the Indianas of the world, Mike, is that they're one of those teams. We used to talk about Alabama. We used to talk about Alabama like this under Nick Saban. Is you're going to have to play your best game to beat these teams, right? If you don't play your best game and if you start making mistakes, it's like an avalanche. It's just going to get worse for you. They're just going to run away with the game because they don't make mistakes. They are incredibly disciplined. They're very physical. And they're just, I mean, again, they are a complete team. And so, yes, you can argue that Hugh Freeze missed from an evaluation standpoint on some guys at key positions, particularly quarterback. You can make that argument. But there were also some things that were just, again, when the stories that you've talked about in terms of what was called in games versus what was actually practiced, when you talk about the fact that guys just seemed, the false starts, the penalties, like Auburn just looked out of sorts, Mike. So when I say Auburn was definitely more talented than a Indiana, they were more talented. But again, the things that you work on starting now in January up until the season, for whatever reason, the ball got dropped there with Auburn, and Auburn just looked unprepared at key points in games to where, yeah, you can say that this is what Auburn should have been, but there was, to your point, systemic problems and issues going on this team from the top down to where there was no way Auburn could have ever gotten close to the standard that is Indiana, even though they had the talent to do it.
Yeah, the championship game is tomorrow night, Indiana versus Miami. I think it was Chad Tracy on Twitter that said that he thought that would be, and I was like, no, please God, no. But Chad was right. Got to give Chad his props here. Indiana versus Miami is our championship game. Hopefully that's a good one for everybody. Anthony Long says, after 5 years of misery, I'm going to have to wait until I see it on the field before I get too excited about this new regime. A lot of wait and sees, I think, based on the history.
PTSD. It's PTSD.
Yeah, my only thing, Anthony, is don't let what happened under another coaching staff make you withhold support for this coaching staff. And, so because again, the wait and see thing, what I don't like about that is you're reserving your excitement and your enthusiasm. Don't reserve your enthusiasm, man. These kids deserve your enthusiasm. They didn't do it to you. Freeze did it to you. Go tweet at him. But don't hold it back from these kids. They deserve it. Anthony Long comes back and says, should expectations be tempered a bit since this is the coaching regime's first year? For the past 5 years, a bowl game was the floor, but we went below floor every year. We're in the basement, guys. I don't think you were in the basement as far as talent was concerned. And this is the message I hope everyone's catching up to, man. It's not talent issue. I said this on that SEC podcast with my guy, SEC Mike. A bunch of idiots over at the On 3 message boards lost their minds on me, saying Mike G said that, we didn't have a talent issue last year. No, I said talent wasn't the reason that you went 5-7. There is a difference there. Pretending not to understand the nuance is intentionally daft. You had enough talent to win 7 games last year. Yeah. I always have to say that. If you disagree, you're wrong. Auburn had enough talent to win 7 games last year. You went 5-7 because you didn't coach it up right. You didn't call it right. You didn't prepare better. That's not a talent issue. It's a coaching issue. That's why you fired the coach. And that's why you told everybody we're trying to keep all the talent. So, no, I don't think that the expectations should be tempered unless you're out here saying Auburn should be in the playoff next year. And I'm okay with that. Even if you think Auburn should be a fringe playoff team next year, I'm okay with that expectation. If you think you got your guy at coach, I'm okay with that expectation. Because who had Indiana in the playoffs before the season? How many? How many projected Indiana to be a playoff team, let alone in the championship game? If Alex Golesh is our guy, I'm all right with expectations. I think he's okay with expectations too. Rhino Ranchero says, Alex Golesh says he has a process-driven approach. Is this something we should be excited about? Were previous Auburn regimes not process-based?
No.
It's no. You said that very plainly and simply. I appreciate the bluntness of your tone there. Yeah, I think no. Lee Cantlay says, I'm going to echo Anthony and say after all the previous requitting hype from the Hugh Freeze era, I'm worn out. Need to see it transfer to performance on the field, done with all the hype at this point. I mean, get
it. I was telling this to someone yesterday because they basically kind of echoed this sentiment. I'm like, this is nothing but PTSD because again, what's the excitement comes from hearing a coach say something that the previous coach didn't say or didn't do. Right. Yep. And Hugh Freeze came in and sounded different than Harsin. So there was an excitement there in terms of what could possibly be. Then the rubber hit the road and it just went off the road. Right. And so what fans are needing to see is results that they can be excited about. My thing is that I understand managing your emotions and, your mental health and whatnot. But I think what Mike is saying is you can have something to look forward to in the fall, guys. Like you have expectations. The only way that you can not be excited is not to have expectations. You have expectations. You want Auburn to win games. And so if you're hearing a coach talk about the things that should happen with your program to get to meet those expectations, that's something to look forward to. You can be excited about those things until it's proven that this coaching staff isn't capable of delivering on the things that they talked about. Right. So my thing is, yes, I'm not mad at you saying I'm tempering my no, you always have high expectations for Auburn. You watch every game with the expectation that Auburn is going to win. Right. If that's the case, a lot of us, I've seen some of these same posters, some of the same commenters in our chat who've been ticked off when Auburn lose a game they should have won. You have high expectations. That's proof that you have high expectations. It's okay to have high expectations. Just know that this is year one, and you should expect the product on the field to be better than what you've seen in the past 3 years. That in and of itself is enough to be excited.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you don't have to go all the way to Auburn's going to win it all, right? But
exactly.
you don't have to be at, I hope we make a bowl game. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Pituco trailer, I think so. We need a gimmick for defensive takeaways, like an Excalibur sword or Thor hammer or something. Bring some excitement. I like the Thor hammer.
I like the Thor hammer. That's pretty cool.
I'm a big Thor guy. So yeah. Hopefully they don't kill him in Doomsday here next December. I really like Thor. He's my favorite Avenger. Anthony Long says, I wholeheartedly believe that the previous coaching staff would have ruined Cam Ward, Diego Pavia, and Fernando Mendoza. I think that if you are expecting those guys to save you, yes. Right? Rather than putting a system around them that will cause them to thrive. It just felt like they expected the 5-star talent to save them. I asked Coach Hugh Freeze this at a press conference, and he said, at some point you just need guys who can go out and win their one-on-one matchups. I don't disagree with that, but also you need to scheme them open and do some things for them that make it easier rather than just throwing them the ball and say win.
And you need a team. Yeah. You need guys who are going to play together. Right? And so if you're talking about guys winning their one-on-one matchups, okay, what if 5 guys win their matchups and 6 don't? What happens next? If you're counting on your guys to win matchups and the majority of your guys aren't winning your matchups, you don't have a good team.
Yeah, but here's the deal. Even if 5 out of 6 win their matchups, the 6 is always going to be the one that you need the most. It's always going to be in crunch time. It's always going to be at the end of the game.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. Man, it's just
Exactly.
you need a system that creates opportunities for guys to win.
That gives them leverage and an advantage. Yes.
Yeah. I covered UCF all last year. And let me tell you something. They went 5-7. There were 3 games where they had opportunities to win the game at the end of the game, and they just didn't have a guy who could make a throw or make the catch or what I noted and what gives me optimism about their 2026 was that the system created the game-winning opportunity. It was there. They just have a guy who could make the throw. They went out and got the kid that took JMU to the playoffs, Alonzo Barnett III. He's their quarterback now. And so if they think they have their quarterback, they may have something, but they had a lot of the same problems Auburn had. Crap offensive line, receivers who were talented but didn't make plays on the outside sometimes. It's just you start with your trigger man. That's why we started this segment talking about Byrum Brown. If he is your guy, now it's like, all right, let's build around him. Let's build on this and let's find some momentum early. And when we start to win football games decisively, guys like Anthony and the Cantlay will come along here. I just hope you guys don't let it stop you, man, for giving these guys the enthusiasm that they deserve, because that's part of what makes the Auburn fan base great, I think. Darius Lee says, to clarify, Indy defense only gave up 24 points in 1 game this year. Auburn was similar before Vandy. Yes, that's right. The difference is Indy has an offense and Auburn didn't. Coach played a role too. When you cannot move the football offensively, eventually your defense is going to break. They're going to give up some points. Yeah, Auburn didn't do their job keeping the defense off the field at times. Now, when you ran into Vandy, I think that just was one of those anomalous games.
Right.
Where that was always going to be high scoring. It just was if Auburn was going to be in it.
Right.
But look, man, it's just it's not all going to look the same way all year.
I see your point, Darius.
Yeah, I do see your point. Yeah, for sure. A couple more comments here. D. Cantlay says, not saying I'm going to give the team my full support, but I'm not going to give the team my full support, but it's hard to be overexcited after years of hype and nothing to show for it. This is a very human response. And we're not saying that you don't have to go straight to, hey, we're going to win it all. Just don't be at, I hope we win 3 games, man. And I'm good. Right? Just don't be there. Don't be rock bottom. Don't go emo. Don't go all emo on me.
Listen, the very fact, again, I reiterate it. The fact that a lot of Auburn fans have been upset of the results tells me that they've had high expectations.
Yes.
It's hard to be invested in this team, in these kids, and not have high expectations because you want them to succeed. So the expectations are there, whether we want to acknowledge them or not. They're there. It's why we're even watching the War Report, and me and Mike are here talking about Auburn football today, because we have expectations of Auburn going to the season. They're there. Now, again, I understand protecting our mad, right? If things don't pan out. But yeah, the expectations are there, and managing them. I think people are trying to figure out, how do I manage my emotions if it doesn't work out? I think that's really what I'm hearing people say. How do I not be as detached if things don't go as planned?
Absolutely. Cleveland Brown says, "Oh, do what y'all want to. I'll sunshine pump for the new regime until they give me a reason not to. War damn Eagle. Love this energy." Cleveland Brown. He also gifted 5 War Report memberships. We appreciate that. Felix the Cat 227 says, pretty good pickups last week. He's growing on me. People starting to see the vision a little bit with some of these pickups here through the portal. Last comment here. Blair Coker says, Mike G's new job, Byrum Brown's Heisman Trophy publicist. Listen, I'll sunshine pump a Heisman run all day. Let's go right now. I'm not holding back my enthusiasm because the things that I'm seeing, I really like. They're process driven. And to be fair to Anthony and the Canlay, it's different from it's a different type of enthusiasm than what I saw from the other staff. I got a different energy for this staff than I had. Like, a lot of my optimism around the last staff was just about the level of talent that they were bringing in. It almost felt like, man, how can you lose with these kids? And then this, Caesar, this is different, man. This is me being excited about their process and their approach and what that will potentially produce. And that's not a knock on the kids to say they're not as talented as the kids that they brought in before. But I think that they have a chance. You want to make the list at the end of the season, not necessarily at the beginning. Those are the ones that count here. Ask Xavier Atkins, right? Yeah. He made every list that counted at the end of the season, and that's what we want to see from Auburn here. Look, we're just over the hour mark, so we're going to close the show here in a few minutes. But Caesar, final takes on where Auburn is at right now and what you saw from the portal. I know there were a couple more names that you wanted to highlight before we got out of here that you think might have an impact on Auburn here next season.
Deshaun Womack, he signed with Auburn. He was the defensive end guy, edge guy. I was wanting to see them bring in two guys out of the portal. They brought in the guy from Missouri, and then they brought in Deshaun Womack, guys who played in P4 games. And Auburn lost some guys from the edge position. So I'm pleased to see that this coaching staff is filling needs, Mike, and they're filling them with bodies. And you already have coaches in place who can get a lot out of these guys. So I'm excited to see that, yes, Auburn's addressing the defensive line. Auburn's addressing the offensive line. And so, again, it's up to the guys. Vontrell King-Williams, who's proven, I have a lot of confidence in him. Just give him the bodies, give him the guys that he wants. He's gonna make do with what he has. Again, the big point that I pointed out earlier in this show was Coach Hudenick. He's an unknown, right? But he's a young guy, up and comer. He's on the offensive side, kind of like what Vontrell King-Williams was on the defensive side. Can he get the most out of these guys along the offensive line? Because unfortunately, systemically, Auburn was not doing that in years prior. Right. So it's hard to get excited about certain offensive linemen. But if you're bringing in experienced bodies and guys who you can gel together and form a unit and a playing rotation and get the most out of them in this system, it's a dub. So to me, it's more about what can this coaching staff do with the bodies that they brought in. And so that's what I'm looking to see. Because if you're not winning the battle in the trenches, it doesn't matter what guys you brought in skill positions. It's going to be a tough season. So really and truly, I'm looking at these two positions, these two coaches. What can they do to get the most out of the talent?
I just want to give some measurables on Deshaun Womack. Again, listed at 6'5", 260 pounds, prototypical edge frame, Caesar, former 5-star recruit out of St. Francis Academy in Baltimore. And he was one of the nation's top defensive prospects in the 2023 class. As a matter of fact, I think he was the number 3 edge in the entire country coming out of high school. So highly heralded coming out of high school here. He started at LSU in 23-24, transferred to Ole Miss for 2025, and now he is with Auburn with 1 year of eligibility left. So can DJ Durkin elevate Deshaun Womack into a household name here in his final year of college football? I think that they can do that, certainly. So can't wait to see that. And let's see here. I think that's that. Look, we're going to go on and get out of here, guys. We appreciate you guys for joining us on to today's show, the Weekend Tailgate. Caesar Walker, thanks for joining me as always, guys. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. We need your help. Share this video on social media. Please hit like and subscribe. We are the War Report on every social media platform. That means X, Instagram, and TW Your Report on TikTok. If you're on Twitter watching this, do us a favor. Come on over to the channel and subscribe here. We need you guys over on YouTube. Let's get out of here. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning on the Auburn Express. That's it for your Weekend Tailgate.